Hello and welcome everyone to episode 157 of the Living Healthy Today podcast and the introduction for our 10-part series on detox and cleansing that has come by popular request from all of you. Before we go ahead and start that, let me introduce myself so you know a little bit about who I am. My name is Carol Lee Cohen. I'm a certified nutritionist, sports nutritionist, health and wellness consultant, weight management consultant, and master nutritionist. And I would say probably more importantly, have just spent a lot of time looking for the answers for my own health issues. So trying out products for myself to see if they worked, if they lived up to the claims, if they made me feel better. I've also had some experience manufacturing products and advising on manufacturing. So when I'm looking at products, I always look at ingredient quality. That's really important to me. I want to know about sourcing. And then as a healthcare professional, helping others work on their health as well. And there's nothing more rewarding than recommending high quality products that actually make a difference. So when I look at anything, I'm looking at it through all of those lenses as the consumer or patient, as did they do their due diligence with manufacturing? Is it quality? And then when I'm working with people, are they getting results and are they feeling better? So that background, having professional training, having been the patient, having worked in manufacturing, gives me some unique background into what works and what doesn't work. And so with that, let's go to our next slide. And this is our famous disclosure statement. Remember that the following information in this podcast is for educational purposes only, not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. The statements presented here have not been evaluated by the FDA. You should always consult with a personal physician or healthcare professional for dealing with medications or lifestyle changes. But you should also consult with your own common sense to find the path that's right for you. Now, if you've been following our podcast for any length of time, you know that we often talk about this huge, explosive rise in diseases. 41% increase in heart disease, 50% in celiac, Crohn's, IBS, and IBD, 50% increase in children, food allergies in children, 300% increase in the need for fertility treatment. So infertility has gone up immensely. 300% increase in diabetes, 783% increase in deaths from Alzheimer's, 4,200% increase in autism. And when we look at this and we say, why has this happened? Obviously, there's going to be more than one reason. But some of the reasons that we deal with most often as to what's driving this crazy explosion of diseases are toxins, inflammation, digestion, and the lack of essential nutrients. So we're going to focus on the toxins part because when we did a poll on what you all wanted to know more about, it was by far questions about detox and cleansing. So we're actually going to do a series, and I think it's going to be a 10-part series because there's a lot to cover, and I want to do it in smaller bite-sized sections so it makes sense. So the first part is this introduction. We're going to talk about why the order of detox matters. Our next part, we'll talk specifically about the products and strategies we use for detox in the digestive tract. Part 2 will be dealing with keeping everything moving and flushing and some of the different strategies we can use there to keep everything flowing. Part 3 will be that maintaining a healthy digestive tract, what we do on a daily basis to keep the digestive system functioning at optimal levels. Part 4 is going to be a deep dive into understanding how the kidneys function and how we detox them. Part 5 is going to go into more detox strategies we can use if you're having severe kidney issues, or maybe you want to do like a kidney cleanse. Part 6 is going to be all about maintaining daily kidney health. Again, once you've got your kidneys back up and functioning, how do we keep them functioning well? What do we do every day? Part 7 is going to be about detoxing the liver and gallbladder on a regular basis. Some of the things we can do there, some things we can do to take care of it. Then part 8 goes into liver and gallbladder cleanses. I get asked about this all the time. What's your favorite cleanse and why? And how we deal with acute situations where we have kind of a crisis. And then part 9, we'll talk about just good, healthy habits for maintaining liver health all of the time that aren't necessarily a cleanse or a detox, but are just the raw materials that the liver needs to function well. And, you know, because I have dealt with organ failure and complete organ failure, I dealt with the failure actually several times of the liver and kidney. So this is something that I've had to dive into really, really deeply. So I've had a lot of personal experience with all of these strategies. And not only with the failure and rebuilding the kidneys and the liver and gallbladder, but I've also had enormous struggles with digestive issues. So I had to really learn all about how we keep healthy digestion, maintain that, and how we deal with problems. So this is actually a pretty personal topic to me, and I hope that by the time we're finished, you will have a better understanding of how everything works and why it matters how we approach it. Now, I want to talk about the order in which we approach detox and why that's so important. Because a lot of people will just come to me and be like, hey, what are your recommendations for a liver cleanse? Or what are your recommendations for a kidney cleanse? And if you don't cleanse the body in the correct order and one of the detox organs is blocked, you can actually run into huge problems where the toxins aren't able to flush out, they're reabsorbed. Now you're having huge detoxing reactions, Herx reactions, you're feeling awful, and you're really just kind of moving the toxins from one spot in the body to the other. So I'm going to talk to you about the correct order of detoxing so you can have maximum success and also feel the best possible that you can while you're detoxing, and why this is based on how the digestive tract and in fact how all of the detox organs of the body actually flush through the system. Because when we take care of the most important ones, we don't even always have to address all of the organs. If we hit the key ones, clear those well, bring those back to normal health, and they can do a lot of the heavy lifting for us. So we're going to go to the next slide here, and I'm going to do some drawing so that you can see this. Okay, so when we eat food, and what I'm about to show you is what's going to happen in a perfect world when everything's awesome. So, perfect world, we eat food, we go in through the mouth, comes down to the esophagus, it drops into the stomach starts to break it down, and then when the stomach is done with it, the stomach's going to send it over into this small intestine next. And the small intestine is about 20 feet long. So that's why you see all these bends and twists, and the food goes round and round in all this twisting small intestine area. It's digested, it's absorbed. The body identifies what it needs, and the stuff that it needs is then released into the bloodstream or to different organs so that it can be used as nutrition and fuel. And it also is looking for toxins and waste and things it doesn't need. So when it finds the toxins and waste, it's going to send those over here down to the first part of the large intestine, or what's known as the ascending colon. So now these toxins hit the ascending colon, they travel up, they now turn and travel across the transverse colon, and now they're going to go down into the descending colon and out through the exit and hopefully into the toilet, right? And this is what happens in a perfect world. And when it happens this way, you notice that at no point did this route of the food or the toxins ever hit the liver, ever hit the bloodstream, or ever hit the kidneys. That's because everything was handled through the digestive tract correctly. And this is the ideal way for toxins to be handled. But when there is something wrong in this system, we'll go ahead and erase this. When there is something wrong in this system, or we have a huge load of toxins, that's not how it works. So now let me show you what happens when it goes wrong. So we eat food, it comes down into the stomach dumps into the small intestine, it goes around those 20 feet of small intestine, goes into the colon, tries to figure it out, but the colon's overwhelmed, so now it's going to send it to the liver. If we have a lot of toxicity, the liver can't process it correctly. Maybe there's toxins from years stored in there, or medications, or heavy metals. Now the liver starts sending it out into the blood, sending it out into the blood all over. And so now, at this point, the kidneys, which filter the blood, kick in and go, help, we have a problem. So now the kidneys start working overtime to try and filter. So we go over here to the right kidney, we go over here to the left kidney. The kidneys try really hard. Well, what happens if the kidneys are overwhelmed? This is where we go out to the lymphatic system and the skin. So if we're so toxic that we have stuff reaching the lymphatic and the skin, it is because the liver, the kidneys, the small intestine, the large intestine, the stomach are all overwhelmed and they can't process things out. So we have a very, very, very toxic system at this point. Another way to think about this is imagine if you walked into a room with only one entrance and you walk into that room and there's clutter everywhere, there's rotting garbage, there's boxes, there's random clothes strewn everywhere. Would you try and walk through all that clutter to the far corner and start cleaning from there? And the answer is, of course not, right? You're going to start right at the door. You're going to start taking out the things you can reach that are right at the door. And you're going to clean it up that way. And you're going to work yourself into that room and you're going to slowly build space. So when we think about detox, this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to slowly build space so the system isn't so overwhelmed and we don't have toxins like you see in all this yellow highlighting here. So if we look at building space, we have to start with the digestive tract first. And there's a few reasons for this. The digestive tract is actually the easiest place to capture and excrete toxins. Because if we come down the digestive tract here, into the stomach, into the small intestine, if all goes well, now we go into the colon and we simply go out. And you could kind of think of the digestive tract as a separate system. It's almost outside of the body, if you will. And what I mean by outside of the body is if it's all working correctly and not overwhelmed, these toxins will never hit the bloodstream, the kidneys, and the liver. So we won't even toxify those organs. We won't even have to worry about them because it's all taken care of. And this, of course, pertains to what we are ingesting, which is a lot of where our toxins come from. This is where we get almost all of our toxins. Of course, there are going to be some toxins coming in from, you're breathing them in, you touch them. Of course, there can be toxins there, but the primary source of toxins is going to be what we're directly eating and drinking. And now I want you to look at the position of these organs. And this is the other reason why it's so important, the order that we detox. Because if you think of this like a funnel where it starts really wide at the top and then narrows, and that narrow part down at the bottom is where we're trying to get everything to flow through, then you can kind of understand how the body's detox system works. So if my funnel is full of stuff and it's fermenting, it's rotting, it's gross, it needs to get out, and I just keep loading more and more stuff into my funnel, and there's a clog at the bottom, the clogging is just going to get worse, right? So do I keep loading more stuff trying to force the funnel to flow from the top? No. We have to unclog the bottom of the funnel so things can start flushing through. So if you look here at the colon, and let me grab my little highlighter again, the colon is the lowest detox organ in the body. It's physically located at the bottom. So you could think of the colon as sitting at the bottom of that funnel. So if we have the colon flushing correctly, now everything we send down from above, we send from the kidneys, we send from the liver, we send from the stomach, we send from the bloodstream, anywhere, right? It can all flush out. So the colon is that bottom of the funnel for the digestive tract. But what about the toxins that, however they got there, for whatever reason they got there, are in the bloodstream? Well, that is really the kidney's job. Because if the toxins are in the bloodstream, the liver has typically already tried to process them, pass them on, and now we're leaving it up for the kidneys. So the kidneys are the next organ up. The kidneys basically sit, you can kind of think of them as sitting at the top level of the colon and just a little above. So let's switch, see if we can switch colors here. Let's try this color. So if you think about it, the kidneys are kind of right here where I'm putting this blue on either side. And so they're the next level up. So I've got to clear the kidneys so that I have a clear route to flush the bloodstream, and I have a clear route to flush the digestive tract and the colon. Those are our starters. And once we have those functioning, now we just continue moving up the system. So again, if you look at physical structure and physical location, what do we have next? Well, guess what's located above the kidneys? The liver and gallbladder right here. So that's why we flush those next. And then at that point, once we've taken care of those main organs, we can look at, do we need to do extra filtering of the blood? Do we need to do extra work on the lymphatic system or the skin? But that is the process of detox and why we have to follow that path. Because if you start with anything else, you're going to just run into problems. I've had people who had issues with constipation or their kidneys start like a whole body detox, and it could have been with great supplements, great protocols, but they run into huge issues if there's anything blocking that kidney exit or the colon exit, because those are the two bottom exits. Those are the two exits that sit at the bottom of that funnel. And when we're trying to flush from the top, by consuming supplements, no matter how good they are, we need the push from those supplements, the push that's coming from those herbs, maybe in those products or those vitamins or minerals. We need that push to be able to flow through an unobstructed system and truly flush the body. Again, it's the idea of walking into a super cluttered room with garbage, clothes, boxes, cobwebs, right? You start cleaning with the parts you can reach first, and then you work your way into the room and slowly build. And that's what we're going to do here with Detox as well. And for those of you that want to continue following this series or find my social links, here is a list of all of them. The first one is my YouTube channel, and you're going to find some of my podcast episodes here, assuming they're YouTube friendly. And you'll also find other videos, like, for example, there is a playlist on my YouTube channel that talks about how you can easily transition in a few simple steps, meal by meal, to a ketogenic lifestyle. The next link is the link to Podbean. That's livinghealthytoday.podbean.com. This will have all of my podcast episodes going back a number of years, and also the ones not so YouTube friendly. The next link is for Top Shelf Nutra. We're going to be talking a lot about Top Shelf Nutra products in this series. So if you don't already have an account, you can visit this link. If someone referred you to this series, then I encourage you to get back with them and ask for their Top Shelf link. The next one is the Top Shelf Nutra Telegram. Anyone that is interested in Top Shelf products or any of these kinds of things that we talk about is welcome to join. You can search for it in Telegram, or you can use the link directly to find it. And this is all things Top Shelf. There's a lot of education. You can ask questions. This is where we do our polls on topics. The next link is for Ancestral Supplements, one of my favorite companies for organ supplements. We'll talk about that some in this series because of some of the need to rebuild these organs at times. Then you have my personal website, wellnesssprings.inc.com. You can always contact me there. And finally, we have the recipe website that has some keto recipes on it, if that's of interest to you. So those are all the different ways you can connect with me personally and with our community. And with that, that brings us to the end of the introduction for our 10-part series. And in part 1, we're going to focus on detoxing and cleansing the stomach, small intestine, large intestine, and colon. So we'll begin at the beginning. Thank you so much for listening, everyone, and we will see you soon.